¿Qué tal a todos? Nos encontramos en el Hotel Le Meridien para poder conversar con el cantante Marc Martel, quien se presentará el próximo 29 de marzo en el Movistar Arena. Hi Marc, welcome to Chile. How do you feel about being here and what are expectations for the show in March 29?
Well, we've been growing our audience in Chile for 3, 4 years now. Our first time here was in 2021, and we came back 23, and now back in 25. And I'm really starting to get a feel for the Chilean culture. I love it. It's great.
You've been performing Queen's music for years and are often recognized as the voice more similar to Freddie Mercury. How do you feel about that comparison?
It's obviously a fantastic. Freddie is, in my opinion, one of the greatest singers of all time, and to be compared in the same sentence as someone like that obviously is just still today, after hearing that for over 20 years now, it still feels really good. And I know that he is just so loved all over the world, and it really brings home the truth that music is the universal language, and it's a beautiful thing to make people feel, during our show. It's like a nostalgia thing for a lot of the older Queen fans, but it's also interesting because I think also because of the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, there's a lot of younger people who have become Queen fans in the last now 8 years. So yeah, it keeps me very busy. It's very fun.
I still remember the first time I watched your video for the Queen Extravaganza. How was that, the audition process for that? How did you feel when Roger Taylor chose you?
Yeah. So people had been telling me that I sound like Freddie Mercury already for 10 years because I had my own band and I was singing my own music. And, but, and it was always a big compliment to say, hey, you sound like Freddie Mercury. But I thought, it's a big world out there. There must be lots of people who sound like Freddie Mercury. I can't be the only one. And then in 2012, when Roger Taylor heard me sing for the first time, and then my audition video blew up, that was confirmation for me that it was something unique and something special. And that felt extra good. It was this thing that I had been wondering for 10 years. I wonder if this is anything special. I mean, I know that I'm a good singer. I do this for a living, but the fact that I sound so close to Freddie Mercury, it was just an extra special thing for me. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but to sing in front of Roger Taylor and Brian May and to make them feel the way that I see other people feeling is just very strange.
Well, performing as Freddie Mercury is not an easy task. What are the biggest vocal challenges you face when you sing his repertoire?
For me, as a tribute singer, I think people come to my show expecting to hear the song like they know it, mostly from the albums. Because I think most of the people that come to our shows, they're not like huge Queen fans who've watched all of the Queen performances and they know all the deep tracks and all that stuff. I think most of the audience are casual Queen fans who know We Are the Champions and Bohemian Rhapsody. And so I don't want to change the song too much for them. So I try to keep it as the original, singing all of the high notes that they hear on the record. When Freddie Mercury was famous for changing the melodies when he performed live, either to save his voice or to keep it interesting for himself. When you're the original artist, you have the license to do whatever you want with your own music. But for me, it's a little different. And so because of that, I have to make sure that I keep my voice in great shape all the time. So I have to sleep, drink a lot of water, can't drink too much beer, and make sure that I'm doing a proper long warm up, especially when I'm on a long tour, like we do a big tour in Europe every year, and it's like show, and after a few shows, I'm like, I'm starting to feel it a little bit. I got to be careful. So yeah, it's a big responsibility to keep my voice in shape.
Well, you mentioned in other interviews that you don't try to imitate him, but you rather interpret him by your own way. How do you balance the tribute with your authenticity?
The biggest thing for me, I made a decision years ago when I first started singing the music of Queen, that I would never pretend to be Freddie Mercury. And a lot of people do that very well. They're, performers and actors, and they like to dress up and capture his persona as close to the way he did it as much as possible. Now, I'm a musician first, and I'm a singer, and for me, it's all about the sound. And also, since I'm also a songwriter, I've done the original artist thing for many years. It's also very important for me to keep my own identity. So when I do the music of Queen, I'm always Marc Martel. I'm never trying to be Freddie Mercury. Um, that said, when I sing the music of Freddie Mercury, he was a British man, and so I grew up in Canada, so we have different accents, right? So I would sing something a little differently naturally than he did. And so I do sort of change my accent, make it a little bit more British, his pronunciation and the way that he hits certain vowels, mouth shapes and stuff like that. I find that's a lot of fun because the way that I grew up to sing, how I learned to sing is I listened to top 40 radio in the late 80s. I listened to Michael Jackson and George Michael and all these guys. I would listen to these guys very closely, and every time I felt like my voice got close to their sound, I was like, oh yeah, I got it. It feels really good. And so I love singing Freddie's music because he's such a gymnastic singer, and it really stretches my voice. And it also feels good when I feel like I get it really close to his pronunciation and his artistic interpretation.
You were part of the vocal dubbing process from Bohemian Rhapsody. How was that experience? How much direction did you receive to match his sound?
That was a really fun experience to record vocals for Bohemian Rhapsody. I got to record at Abbey Road Studios in London, where the Beatles did all their stuff and countless other artists. And it was really surreal for me because I was there to do the thing that I feel like I have a special knack for, which is listening to a singer and getting close to their sound, right? And Freddie Mercury for me is the easiest one because it just comes naturally. And it was just a really cool experience to be part of a movie that everybody knew. Millions of people have been waiting for this movie for so long. And there was rumors about this movie coming out like 10 years before it came out. And they just had to line up the right the director and the main actor and the right script. And they finally got it all together. And, we got a call in 2016. My manager received a phone call from one of the producers of the movie saying, we finally got the green light to do the movie, and we'd like Mark to be a part of the voice of Freddie. And I was like, just let me know when I need to be there, man. And we spent a few weeks in London recording the vocals, and we got to work a little bit with Rami Malek and the director, and a lot of it was me looking at a screen, and there's Freddie's vocal, and I have to match every single word just perfectly. It was a lot of work. It was hard work, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, now the One Vision of Queen tour has traveled to many countries. How has the audience reception been, and what surprises can the fans expect of this show?
Well, Queen's one of those artists that everyone in the world knows at least 2 songs, and so I feel like we can go into almost any country and have a great show and have the whole audience singing along. And obviously in Chile, it's no different. The people, I think in South America in general, you guys are known to have just an amazing energy that you guys bring to rock and roll, especially rock and roll. I think my guitar player likes to say that there are certain parts in the world where they never got the memo that rock and roll is not cool anymore, which is very, very great. I love it. I still love rock and roll. It's a beautiful thing to see. Just recently, I feel like America, the USA has finally gotten on the Queen wagon. They were a little behind there's so much great music in the USA. I think Queen originally it took them a little longer to really break through that market, but now we're playing shows even in the USA all the time. But yeah, we love to travel the world. We go to Europe every year. We come down to South America almost every year, and it's always a great time. And people just, they don't get sick of it. They always want more.
Besides this tribute, you also release original music. Do you plan to continue exploring your own material in the future and came to Chile with your own material?
Maybe someday people will want to hear my music more than Queen. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to work very, very hard for that. But yeah, I always love to work on my own stuff. I do. I've done a lot of Christmas music. It gives me a chance to explore something. At least I have one thing every year where it's not Queen, just to take a little break from that. But you know, I have a hard time finding the time to write my own music because I'm on the road so much these days. And I used to write. One of the big reasons why I used to write a lot before I did Queen was because I needed to survive, and I was writing music to keep my band on the road. And now that I'm doing Queen, all the repertoire is already there. So, but yeah, I really hope to release some new music. I'm going to re-release a covers album very soon of a bunch of different covers that I've recorded over the last few years, called My Way Volume 1. And I think we released that before people knew me for Queen. And I'm going to re-release it now just to get it out to the bigger audience.
I understand that you live in Nashville, that's correct?
Yes.
A city with a rich musical history. How has that environment influenced in your career?
You know, your next door neighbor might be doing the exact same thing as you. I grew up in Montreal, where I did not meet a professional musician even once until I was maybe 18 years old. So I didn't grow up thinking that being a professional musician was even possible. I thought I was going to be, I don't know, a scientist or something like that. Something not music. Even though I always loved music the most, I never saw a path to be able to do that myself. And then I started a band when I went to university, and then that band got signed to a record label in Nashville. And then all of a sudden I'm living in the United States, and there's all these opportunities. And to be in a town like that is very energizing. And, you know, I can call up a friend of like, hey man, I need some drums on this track. He's like, no problem, I'll have them to you tomorrow. And he'll record himself, and I'll have the tracks the next day. Or just take a coffee meeting with, you know, someone I've looked up to for many years. It's a really cool. Now I've never been involved in country music. It's the home of country music, but oddly enough, I haven't really done anything involved in country music, which is kind of weird. Maybe that's the next step. We'll see. Yeah.
Finally, what message would you like to send to the Chilean fans who will see you at Movistar Arena on March 29?
If you love music, you love rock and roll, if you love just having a good time, it's the music of Queen. You cannot go wrong, and you're going to hear something that is closer to Queen than you can hear today. The classic Queen anyway. And it's going to be a great time. I'm going to have my whole band there. It's rock and roll. My players are absolutely incredible. My guitar player, sometimes, I know it's sacrilegious to say, but I've heard Brian May play live, and I've heard him play live. Sometimes my guitar player sounds more like Brian May than Brian May. Which some people hate when I say that, but I say it as a joke. But yeah, I've got an amazing band, and it's a great time.
Well, Mark, I really appreciated your time. I wish you the best of luck to the show in March. And para toda la gente que nos está viendo, quédense atentos. Recuerden, 29 de marzo en el Movistar Arena, Marc Martel junto a One Vision of Queen los trae Free Entertainment Group. Así que no se despeguen de nuestras redes sociales.